the steps of restoring your life to sanity and finding yourself powerless.
Restoring hope, open my heart to sing, taking the darkness inside, revealing your light, restoring hope, open my eyes to see the world through different eyes, revealing your light, restoring hope.
Good afternoon. It is a beautiful Sunday afternoon live here on RestoringHopeLive.com. Go to our website at any time. Check out the players, check out the former shows, check out the blogs, and most importantly, check out how Christ sits in the middle of this radio program like he sits in the middle of your life and helps you with life's hurts, habits, and hang-ups. My pastor once said in a sermon many years ago, pointed to a row somewhere anonymously in the room, and he said, that row back there that has 10 people, 2 of you are alcoholics and 1 of you are abusing drugs. The other one, you're abusing pharmaceuticals. You were sexually abused as a child. You have a pornography problem. You gamble. And by the way, you're having an adulterous affair. And he said, welcome to church, the hospital for sinners. There's not a Christian on earth that doesn't need Christ for redemption and forgiveness, but we also need to come forth, and we are given grace to come forth and admit we are powerless over something, admit we need help on something. And that's what this radio program is about. You might say, well, I don't have an alcohol or drug problem, or I don't look at pornography, or I'm not fooling around on my spouse, or I don't have any of those issues. Why should I listen to this program? Well, maybe God led you here. Maybe you're supposed to get something today that you can pass on to a spouse or a son or a daughter or someone in the next cubicle or a friend that you know is hurting. The idea of Restoring Hope Live is to do just that. Restore hope in your life so that you know there's a place for you to turn. We work with a company called Transformations, a Christ-centered 12-step program out of Florida. If you go to our website at RestoringHopeLive.com, you'll see a click for their ad. You can check them out. They're great people. They do everything with Christ in the middle. We've decided for the month of January and February that we're actually going to discuss the 12 steps of a 12-step program. We are going to open that veil, move that veil aside, whip the curtain away from the wizard, and actually explain and help you understand how these steps work. Because whether you know it or not, the majority of people in this country in a 12-step program are just like you. They're fathers, they're mothers, they're professionals, they're blue-collar workers, they're kids in college, and they're grandparents whose spouse died after 40, 50, 60 years of marriage and just couldn't face life without a bottle or without a pill. This program is here to restore hope for you. Who are the players? Bob Montserrat, the cat in the hat, who watches our chat. He's also one of the country's leading experts on alcohol. He has testified in thousands of court cases across the country about the impact that alcohol and drugs has on people's life. Bob, welcome.
Thank you, Mac.
And he also watches our chat. So should you want to talk on the chat, that's right. We're all live online at RestoringHopeLive.com. Just click watch, and you can watch the show. Yes, there's cameras. We all have radio faces, so don't expect much. But we do allow you to jump on and chat. My other co-host is Dr. and Pastor Michael Hartwig, a good friend of mine for a long time, has a passionate heart towards Jesus Christ, and is also a doctorate in counseling and education, and so understands how people need help. And you and your wife, you have a great ministry. Yep. You invite people into your home. What do you call it? The parlor?
Yeah.
And deals with couples through marriages. And my personal experience with Mike, my wife and I went to Mike and Leanne many, many years ago, and it worked wonders, except Mike was never on my side. But it was nice to have him.
Your wife is wonderful.
Yes, my wife is wonderful.
Very prayerful.
The 12-step program is aimed for people to be comfortable to be anonymous. And for some people out there in the world, anonymous is the key. They work in a situation, they live in a life, in a town, in a place, in a church, in a wherever, in which there would be people that would judge them improperly because of this disease called alcoholism. And so the word anonymous is many times used. Our guest today is Mary, 31 years sober, You will not see her face on the webcast, and her real name isn't Mary. I tell you that simply because I want you to know this is a transparent show. She's an individual who needs to remain anonymous because of that world that she lives in. But her knowledge of the 12 steps goes so far beyond what so many people understand that I thought it was important that we have her today. And Mary, welcome.
Thanks, Mac. Glad to be here.
Glad to have you here. All right. Last week, Mike and I ran through all 12 steps in a very big hurry. Today, we're going to break down the first 3 and tell you why those are important. Now, what I'd like to do before we do that, though, Mike, is what was your impression of last week's show? Because that's the first time you've ever heard the 12 steps in a row talked about and laid out before you.
I had to memorize them going through school, so it wasn't the first time I ever. But
Okay.
it was the first time from an alcoholic
Okay.
that I heard him. Totally new insight to feel the passion that goes from. But I'll tell you, my Baptist background that's flashing in the back of my mind. Every time I see something like alcohol, like in the first step, admit that we're powerless over alcohol. I'm thinking, well, how's that different than sin?
It's not. Anybody out there can replace the word alcohol in the first step with sin, anger, pornography, lust, jealousy,
Overeating.
overeating. And I specifically want to land back on that jealousy because jealousy leads to resentments. And families are petri dishes for resentments. Most of the resentments that we have in our life are somehow family connected. And if you take the first step and say we are powerless over jealousy and resentment and being offended,
Right.
and apply that. And one of the things we talked about last week, and I don't think a lot of people recognize, step 1 is the only step that talks about alcohol.
Oh, yeah.
You look through all 12 of
Right.
those steps.
Right.
The word alcohol only appears in the first one.
Interesting.
So my small group at church, my men's group, there was a couple of us in recovery, and they became so interested in how our lives had changed. And these 2 guys that are in this group of 20 guys, and man, these guys got something I want. Right. And so we went through the entire 12-step program over the 12 or 14-week period, and each one of them substituted alcohol with lust.
Yeah, whatever their sin is.
Whatever their sin is. That's right. Whatever thing they struggle with in life. And at the end of the time, we had 20 guys who not only had a better spiritual life connected to Christ, but they also had the tools now to deal with some of these hurts, habits, and hangups.
Wow. Yeah.
So it's pretty amazing. So now, Mary, the first 3 steps are connected in some way, right?
Yes.
Tell me how you, in your teaching and learning, those 3 steps are kind of a package deal.
Well, wait, what are they?
Well, the first is, you have them in front of you. We admitted we were powerless over alcohol and that our lives had become unmanageable. Step 2 is come to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. And for those of us who love Jesus, don't get all fired up about the fact that it's a God of our understanding. Just roll with us for a while. That's important to most abusers and users of drugs and alcohol. The last thing we want is to be judged by people who are of God. They've been running from God, drinking bottles from God, running with marijuana and pharmaceuticals because they don't want to face the life that God had created for them and therefore think that God is against them. And as we get through the steps, not this week but later on, you'll find that that spirituality of a power greater than ourselves usually ends up being the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So number 2 is come to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. And then step 3, which is probably the most important step, at least it was for me, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. And so many people have been able to come to a relationship, a personal relationship with God, because they were allowed to have a relationship with the God as they understood him. What God does it become? It becomes the God of Jacob, Isaac, and Abraham. And so therefore we continue as we unpack the first 3 steps of the 12 steps in which so many people find help for life's hurts, habits, and hangups. I'm J. Michael McCoy. If I haven't told you lately, thanks for listening. Love this job. Couldn't do it without you. We'll be back live here on RestoringHopeLive.com.
Restoring hope.
All across America, there are countless numbers of people struggling with addiction and other life-controlling issues. Probably someone you know and love. There is a way out. There is hope. Transformations Treatment Center in Delray Beach, Florida, has a unique approach to substance abuse treatment. Call now and ask about our Guaranteed Success program or log on to transformationstreatment.com. Transformations. Change your life, change your relationships, transform your world.
Next time you're looking for something to do with your spouse, try this.
A Marriage Moment with Dr. Mike Hartwig for Marriage Matters Live.
Get in the car with your spouse and tell them that you're going to go to the 25th restaurant that you pass. Now, it might be McDonald's, or it might be an expensive steakhouse, or it might be fish and chips, or it might be hot dogs. One couple we told this to passed a restaurant the husband liked so much that he kept driving around the block until they reached their magic number. So to counter that, every time you come to a major intersection, flip a coin. Heads, you turn right. Tails, you turn left. One person concentrates on driving, and the other one concentrates on counting and flipping the coin. It's a fun night out that you never know where you're going. It could be pretty fun, or it could be pretty dull. But whatever the case, strong couples have learned how to have fun no matter their circumstances.
This Marriage Moment and Marriage Matters Live is a ministry of Restoring Hope Live, heard Sundays on this station.
Restoring hope.
Jill, why don't you tell the class what you did this weekend?
Well, my dad and I went in search of some magical minnows and found a zillion of them in the stream from our lookout rock. Then my sister and I escaped from an evil slug king and went back to my super twig fort for safety. Then we told stories till it got dark, and the Big Dipper led us all the way home.
Where were you, Jill?
We went to the forest. It's not that far away.
Ask your parents to take you and your friends to the forest this week. It's closer than you think. Check out discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
The Pocket Testament League presents Pocket Power. Read, carry, and share the gospel every day. Tongue-tied when it comes to witnessing? Then let God's Word do the talking for you.
I found the Pocket Testament and the reference pamphlet very helpful in breaking the ice with people. Everyone seems to own a Bible, but not one seems to know where to go for specific needs. The ready references alone can guide anyone through the process of salvation.
This is Mike Brickley, president of the Pocket Testament League. League members have found that any place is a good place to share a pocket gospel with someone they meet. Join us and you'll always be ready. Is there anything more important?
And you don't have to be a scholar, just able to read the references. Want to know how to succeed in Christian life? Just look in the reference pamphlet. It's great.
What are you waiting for? Read, carry, and share the gospel every day. For more information, call 1-800-636-8785 or visit pocketpower.org. That's pocketpower.org.
Today, millions are struggling with alcohol or drug addiction. If you or people you know struggle with a chemical dependency where a substance owns you, and you have other struggles such as depression, anxiety, or trauma that can often go along with it, get your freedom back and successfully transform your life from one controlled by addiction to a clean, sober, fulfilling life. Contact Transformations Treatment Center, where our caring professionals will help you find your freedom. Transformations Treatment Center offers both a 12-step and a Christian 12-step program, providing healing for the mind, body, and spirit. Take the first step by visiting transformationstreatment.com or by calling 877-989-8223 today. At Transformations Treatment Center, we understand the pain. Call now, 877-989-8223. Get your freedom back. Transform your world.
Restoring hope. Open my heart to sing. Taking the darkness inside. Revealing your light. Restoring hope.
Welcome back to RestoringHopeLive.com. We are in the midst of understanding the 12 steps of a 12-step program. Mary is our guest, 31 years sober, and she's going to share with us a little bit. The other thing I want to share with you is to make sure you recognize who supports this show. We don't ask you for donations. We don't ask you to send in money, and then we'll send you a copy of Dr. Hartwig's book, I'm the Greatest Guy in the World. It's a short book, by the way, and most of the pages are blank. But I
think you colored yours in, didn't you?
I did in crayons.
yeah, right.
Scooby-Doo. But we specifically sought out sponsors for this program that would help you. I'd love to have Ford sponsor me, but Ford doesn't help you. I'd love to have Chocolate Ho Ho Hostesses sponsor us, but that wouldn't help you. Maybe would, but Transformations Treatment Centers sponsors us because they are a Christ-centered 12-step program in Florida who you can trust your family, your friends, your most beloved too. So if anything we say today rings true and you want to reach out, call the folks at Transformations. You can also call me. You can also write me. All my contact information, I'm very public. I'll be glad to talk to you. I had a woman last week. I didn't tell you this yet. I had a woman listen to the show and call me, and we talked 20 minutes about her son, who is just an absolute devastating alcoholic, and it's ruining everybody's lives. And she says, what do I do? So we talked, and now we're going to meet and hopefully get to the point where I can bring somebody in who can do an intervention, and they can get him help. And she just listened to the show one day. So anyway, that's how God works through this program. All right, so Mary, a little bit about your story, because I love the way you tell your story. You tell it quite concisely, but it makes so much sense.
Basically, I'm an alcoholic, and my body is different than a non-alcoholic. And so when I take a drink of alcohol, I get drunk. And when I get drunk, I get into trouble and I black out. And you can just repeat that by X number of years drinking. My body is different biologically. Once I take a drink of alcohol, my body demands more and more and more. And that's just who I am. So
how did you get that? How does the 12-step program impact your life? I mean, you're going through alcoholism. You realize this is beyond you. What happens?
For the recovery?
Yeah. I mean, why does the 12-step program work?
Well, basically, the 12-step program works. The sole purpose of the 12 steps is for deflation of ego at depth. When I arrive here, once again, my body is different. My mind is different. My mind is defective because my mind does not think like a non-alcoholic. It doesn't think with balance or proportion. And also my will. My will is very different in that I am full of selfishness and self-centeredness. The last thing I want when I arrive here is a relationship with any kind of God or higher power. So by going through the steps and understanding about me and how my mind, body, and will works, that I need to be turned, and I can't do that on my own. I need to be turned by a higher power to go from selfishness and self-centeredness to other-centered, and to also have a relationship with God, the God of my understanding. And if I could just reiterate here really quick what Max said, the wonderful, wonderful thing about a 12-step program is that when people arrive, we love them where they are. Many of them have not even had an experience with a God in their life. Some of them have had a punishing and a damning God in their life. And so when they arrive, the last thing they want to hear is anything about a God or higher power. And one of the co-founders of a 12-step program had that same experience when he arrived. And he didn't want people preaching and talking to him. But
so that's the reason why they dropped in here, as we understand it.
Exactly.
Over the care of God as we understand it.
Exactly. So people can feel and they can take the time they need to develop whatever relationship. And as Max said earlier, more times than not, their God is going to be the same God all of us have, okay? But we allow them the time to get there. And the changing or the turning is through taking action. This is not an intellectual program to understand and just think, well, that's really great information. It is a program of action where I have to do certain things so I can allow the Spirit to turn me and to become a different person.
So they have to do something to entice the Spirit. I mean, it sounds manipulative.
No, not at all. It's coming here and for me realizing that I am powerless over alcohol, because if I wasn't, I wouldn't get drunk every time I drank. But see, my body is different biologically. It is different than a non-alcoholic. As soon as I take a drink of alcohol, I'm in trouble because my body's going to demand more. If I could stop that, I would, but I cannot. And so I come here and I admit, step one especially is for deflation of ego at depth, of admitting my powerlessness and that my life has become unmanageable. It says in one of the 12-step readings, publications, it says, our way of life may have its advantages for all. Again, to say what Max said earlier, because once we remove the alcohol, I still have the spiritual malady, which is that I am selfish and self-centered to the core, and I don't have a relationship with a higher power that I need to have to change me, because I can't change myself. I need to be changed by a higher power.
So what you're saying is that the core of everything is you're selfish.
Is that I come here selfish and self-centered. The world revolves around me totally when I get here.
And what alcoholism is just a manifestation of that selfishness.
It is. It is.
And what 12-step ultimately does is get that to flip on itself and say, no, you need to be worshiping the God of the universe.
Exactly.
Or, in your verbiage,
right.
the God that you understand.
Right, because so what I need to do is admit my powerlessness, and then I have to be willing to come to believe that some power greater than myself can restore me to sanity, restore me to balanced, proportional thinking. Step 2 is a decision about a higher power. Step 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him, is the decision to have a relationship with that power. Okay, the first 3 steps have to happen before I can go on and do the other steps. Okay, let me just say that 1 through 3 are to develop a relationship with the power, and then 4 through 7 move away the obstacles for me and my relationship with a higher power, okay? Right. And then 8 through 10 remove the obstacles with me and other people so I can still have a relationship with that power.
Okay.
And go ahead.
Going really fast here.
Okay,
so
sorry.
I just, all these questions are flooding in my head. Okay, so let's concentrate on the first 3.
Yep.
Number 1 is that admit that we're powerless.
Mm-hmm.
And then number 2 is that make a decision, turn our will over to the lives of the care of God as we understand him. What it seems like that this is recognizing that there's Satanism out there and that we could recognize that he is out there. But then the third one is make a decision to turn our will over to that care of that higher power.
Right.
That, to me, that doesn't sound healthy. I mean, that we that this system would allow embracing something that is not that is destructive in Satanism.
Well, and I don't think anywhere, if you read any of the literature, if you talk to anybody, so when a new person comes into the program and they want what the people there have because they see laughter, they see joy, they see people having problems but having a solution, okay? And so nowhere in the literature does it talk about going to the dark side and worshiping the dark side. Pardon me, the hope is that, the higher power might be the group for a while, okay? And that might be all that they can do. But see, and I know even that the church that I go to talks about loving people where they're at. And that's what we do in the 12-step program, is that we love people where they're at until they can get to a point where they can be willing to take these few steps. And the action in steps 2 and 3 are decisions of the will, are deciding, are making a decision to do something different, to live differently.
Okay, I still am hung up on this, the God as we know it, and know him. I think there is a right. Jesus Christ said, I am the way, the truth, and the life.
Yeah, but this program is not evangelistic.
You mean...
we're not here to promote Jesus.
You mean the 12-step
in the 12
program.
steps.
Jesus can be somebody's
higher
higher power.
That seems counter to what you guys have been saying at the beginning.
No.
Is this that 9 times out of 10 they turned their lives over to Jesus Christ?
They do.
But it's the purpose of it is not.
How do you turn someone from the dark to the light? You create a relationship.
Okay,
with
so
them.
what is the goal of the program?
To get sober and to stay sober.
Okay, so if there's only one way, there's only one truth, one way, that's through Jesus Christ. How could you go any other way?
Mike, how do you turn a sinner to Christ? You don't stand at the hill and point at his sin. You create a relationship with him, right?
Well, I think I would be a lot more comfortable if that said the God of the universe.
Well, congratulations.
Period.
That's not what it is.
Period. But I take counsel.
So why do you
argue
a point that has worked for millions of people?
Because my guess is to me it's fundamentally flawed. And that is, and in fact, there's other counter groups that have come in and started because of that. Yeah. I know it's work.
And if I
Can
could
you
just
get past that though, please?
Oh yeah. Oh yes. But I my sense is I'm voicing what a lot of people have had with the 12-step program.
Well, that's why another 12-step program was started, because they had a problem that we didn't promote Christ. And my point is, if people could just take a deep breath, take a step back, again, love people where they are and let them get where they get, because really their relationship between them and God or them and Christ is God's business. It's not your business or my business. It's God's business, okay? Who their relationship is with. Right. And we got to trust that he's going to let that process happen and they're going to get where they need to go. We need to love them where they are, love them and heal them, help heal them until they can get where they need to be.
Mary is 31 years sober. We're walking through the 3 steps. We look forward to hearing what she says. Sledgehammer Hartwig is also in the studio, along with Bob Montserrat, the Cat in the Hat. I'm J. Michael McCoy. If I haven't told you lately, thanks for listening. I love this job. Couldn't do it without you, right here at Restoring Hope Live.
Restoring
All across America, there are countless numbers of people struggling with addiction and other life-controlling issues. Probably someone you know and love. There is a way out. There is hope. Transformations Treatment Center in Delray Beach, Florida, has a unique approach to substance abuse treatment. Call now and ask about our Guaranteed Success program or log on to transformationstreatment.com. Transformations. Change your life, change your relationships, transform your world.
So, I'm a dog, and I'm kind of family, but I've noticed a trend. My humans do this thing where they go around and get all my toys and hide them in this basket, but it's always the same basket, and it's always the same place. And then they act so surprised when I find them, but I'm like, hello, that's where you put it last time. Humans are the worst at hide and go seek.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
So, Jacqueline.
Yes, Mom?
I wanted to talk to you about something, and... Oh, wait, hold on. I just got a text. Oh, there's another one. Wow. Busy me. So, anyway...
Oh, wait, Mom. I just got a message. My friends keep commenting on my comment. Oh, there's another one. So many comments on my comment.
Oh, I can't wait to watch TV tonight. Playoffs!
Hey guys, check out my new video game. Pew, pew.
Wait, Mom, what?
What? Hold
What'd
on.
you say? Wait a second, what?
This weekend, unplug. Take your family to the forest. There's nothing in the world like experiencing nature firsthand. Trees, paths, bluebirds, streams. Getting closer to nature can get you closer to your family. To find the forest nearest you, go to discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
The Pocket Testament League presents Pocket Power. Read, carry, and share the gospel every day.
Talking with strangers is exactly opposite my personality. Very difficult and immensely stressful. But how can I keep quiet? Yesterday was the first time I've went with people from my church specifically for evangelism.
This is Mike Brickley, president of the Pocket Testament League. League members have found that any place is a good place to share a pocket gospel with someone they meet. Join us and you'll always be ready. Is there anything more important?
As we talked with people, I watched their faces change. Suspicion became interest. Interest turned to concern. Concern to guilt. But guilt became surprise and amazement. Thank you for helping me share the best gift I've been given.
What are you waiting for? Read, carry, and share the gospel every day. For more information, call 1-800-636-8785 or visit pocketpower.org. That's pocketpower.org.
Here's Dan Celia with today's Stewardship Moment.
It's always amazing to me that only 3 to 4% of Christians tithe. Listen to Ezekiel 44:30. The best of all the first fruits of your special gifts will belong to the priest. You are to give them first portions of your ground meal so that a blessing may rest on your household. It is clear that God in His Word wants us to give first fruits. And I'm sure as I do, you pray for God's blessing upon your household and your family. And as you pray for that blessing, do you give to Him what is rightfully His?
You've just heard a Stewardship Moment with Dan Celia of Financial Issues Ministry, helping you plan, give, and invest wisely. For more information, log on to financialissues.org. That's financialissues.org.
Restoring hope, open my heart to sing, taking the darkness inside, revealing your light, restoring hope.
RestoringHopeLive.com, XM Sirius, and of course on the American Family Radio Network. That voice right there singing, Matt Baird from the band Spoken. And he wrote, produced, and recorded that for us for this show. So that is our theme song, and we are very humbled to have a guy like Matt Baird. I don't know if you know anything about Matt Baird. YouTube him. YouTube the band Spoken. We're fortunate that Matt is a member of our church here at home, but he travels all over the country. And if you Facebook friend him, he'll tell you where he's playing, and you can go listen to him. An incredible writer, an incredible song writer and singer for Christ. All right, RestoringHopeLive.com, brought to you by Transformations. Eric, our audio producer, made a good point during the break, and I want to pass that on. If you don't get Jesus, or you want somebody to get into treatment, and Jesus is the last name he ever needs to hear, Transformation has a non-Christ-centered 12-step program. Now, I'll give you a hint. Psst, come here. I'll whisper it in your ear. They're going to find Jesus in this program. But up front, if that's an issue, Transformations in Florida also has a non-Christ-centered 12-step program. Look them up, Transformations Treatment Centers. Go to our website, RestoringHopeLive.com, and get that information. Mary's our guest today. She's 31 years sober. We're walking through the first 3 steps. Step 1, what does that mean to you? What did it mean to you in your sobriety, and what does it mean to the ladies that you sponsor?
Well, step 1 means that I'm admitting that I'm powerless over alcohol, and that my life had become unmanageable, meaning that as I said earlier, when I take a drink of alcohol, I get drunk. And I have to learn, and I have to be able to admit at my core that I am powerless over alcohol. And my life is going to go a lot better if I don't take a drink of alcohol. I came in very young, and I would hear women say, I didn't even know I was in a blackout during Thanksgiving. They'd show the pictures. I don't even remember being at the Thanksgiving dinner, and that hadn't happened to me yet. But how many, 22-year-old women had cooked a Thanksgiving dinner for their family? And I was told that I needed to say the yets. That hadn't happened to me yet. I did not go to jail yet. And I can tell you that's because my brother was my enabler and a great help, and he kept me from going to jail one day, but otherwise, that would have been my life. And I have to admit that if I drink alcohol, that I am going to be in trouble.
Yeah, and yet is so important,
right.
And as we're talking about the first step, I do want to take a phone call. There's a set of headphones right there for you, Mary. Here was the hardest thing for me. We admitted we were powerless over alcohol. Well, heck yes, that was the whole idea of drinking alcohol, is to get drunk so I could be powerless. I wasn't interested in teetotaling down the road over the course of 4 hours and sipping on a beer or a martini. I wanted to get smashed in 45 minutes to an hour and then go crazy. And the second part, that our lives had become unmanageable, well, of course they are. That's the fun of being drunk. You don't have to be responsible for anything you do, because you can say, I'm sorry, I was drunk.
But if I could say, for me, it was not fun, because I woke up the next morning not knowing how I got there, where I had been, who I was next to, and it was embarrassing and remorseful. But never occurred to me that maybe I just shouldn't take that drink, because when I took that drink, I would get drunk.
Right.
The people I work with, they had just the opposite response. It was like everybody else knows that you're powerless over this,
right?
Except you,
right?
And we're trying to convince you
exactly.
that you need to go.
Yeah, exactly. The people say, well, how do you know you're an alcoholic? Well, there's no true litmus test, but here's one. Here's just one for you. You're sitting around, you're having a couple drinks, and all of a sudden a friend of yours goes, whoa, okay, I'm getting that feeling, I'm a little dizzy, I'm going to stop. The alcoholic goes, whoa, I'm getting a little dizzy, floors it, and orders a double.
Right.
They like that feeling. All right, let's go to the phones where Jessica is standing by. Jessica, you're live on Restoring Hope Live. How you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Good. What's your question for the day?
The 12-step program, I guess I've had a lot of addicts in my life that have went to treatment and have used the 12-step program. I personally have went to many Al-Anon meetings, being a codependent addict, I guess. The observation that I've had, or the question that I have, and hopefully you guys can clear this up for me, because I've never really been able to get a grasp on this or an answer. Step 1, admitting that you're powerless. I guess I have a problem with saying I am powerless. I know that alcoholics have a problem putting down the bottle. I know that drug addicts have a problem putting down the pipe or putting down whatever it is that they use. But I feel like when an addict comes in and says, okay, I need help, telling them that they're powerless is almost, detrimental to their getting sober. Like telling them that they have no power and that they're just, it almost seems like you're telling them that they're just worthless.
All right, Jessica, I appreciate the call. That's a great question. Mary, how would you answer that?
I guess I would say, that's not it at all. I would embrace them. I would encourage them. Yeah, I understand. You are powerless over alcohol. Your body is different. You have a biological mandate. You can't help the way you were born. You can't help the way that your body is. It is just a fact of life. It's not telling them that they're worthless. That's the whole point. If they can just admit that when I take a drink of alcohol, I'm going to be in trouble, and I need help. And in and of myself, I can do nothing. I'm going to need a higher power. I'm going to need somebody to help me so that I cannot take a drink of alcohol, because the mental obsession is there as well. So, not at all putting them down or telling them they're worthless. It's really a good thing, a healthy thing, if they can admit that and move forward.
I wouldn't consider it that they're worthless. I would consider it that they're victims. I mean, are you saying that you're a victim? I mean, that's a great question. As an alcoholic, am I a victim of that alcoholism?
Never. No. I just have to accept. Again, it's a disease, and I know that's debated as well.
In other words, you're not culpable for that disease.
No, I cannot help. My body is physically different. That when I take a drink of alcohol, it demands more. I don't know that until I take a drink of alcohol, okay? And so I have to take a drink of alcohol to find that out. And once I've taken a drink of alcohol, I'll tell you, the first time I drank enough to get lightheaded, all right? I was underage. Second time I drank, I was underage. And I remembered what it felt like the first time. And I drank myself into a blackout the second time I drank, okay? That's how quickly it happened to me, that I got drunk and drank myself into a blackout.
Whose fault was that?
I don't know that it's anybody's fault.
Which seems
it's the accuser's fault. Alcohol is just another sin, like lust, like greed, just another sin that the accuser uses to keep us away from the light and into the darkness.
I mean, there's a saying that we have that says, I didn't know I didn't know. I didn't know I couldn't see. Okay, and I didn't know I couldn't hear. And until I can get into a program, until I can get into a place where people can help me and teach me about my body being different, about my mind being different, about my will being different, can I even then begin to change and do something different? I don't consider myself a victim. It's just who I am. I can't help it. Okay, but I fortunately found the program and am doing things today to be a successful human being out in the world.
Right. And I think that's where the real value of this discussion comes from. Is I think it's easy, and I've seen plenty of people that do this. Well, I can't help myself. That's just the way I am. I can't stop eating. I can't. It's just I've got this mental condition.
Okay.
And then yet they don't take personal responsibility to change it.
And here's the hard part. It even says in, one of the books that's written in 12-step is that if somebody has cancer, everybody's sorry for them and helps them get treatment, okay? It's a little hard to do that with an alcoholic because some are willing and some aren't.
Right.
And so how do you continue to love them when they're still in their disease because they don't want to believe they're different? And you think about people who have diabetes who don't do the diet right. And who continue to have problems.
Right.
You still love them, right?
Right.
And dang it that they can't figure it out. But when it's an alcoholic, people are angry and people are mad because they're like a tornado roaring through other people's lives, and they can't get to the point where they can, give up, give in, surrender to say that I am powerless. I can't take a drink of alcohol.
Right.
All right, this is RestoringHopeLive.com. You're welcome to go to our website at any time. It is not a website that we commercialize, okay? We don't get points or dollars or anything else when you go to our website. You go to our website, you'll learn about Mike and his family. You'll learn about Bob and his family, me and my family. You'll see all the old shows, and you'll see some tips and habits, and we also will link you to transformations. One of the, and the 12-step programs are famous for all our little 12-step isms. But one of the things that I learned very quickly was that my alcoholism was more about my actions and my character defects when I was sober rather than when I was drunk. I was an isolated drinker. I was in the basement. Kids were upstairs. Wife's in bed. I'd drink. I didn't do so many stupid things out in public. I did a few, but not mainly. But what the alcoholic mind did for me, and you said it really well earlier, and I'd like you to talk about that again, is how it consumes your mind, and you don't know what you don't know.
Right. I mean, our body, our mind is not healthy in that it does not have balance or proportion. So if one is good, 10 is better. Okay. And that's true with everything in my life. Okay. My mind is out of balance. I'm sorry. It is just defective. And I've had to come to realize that I'm not a victim, not woe is me. It's just who I am.
Right.
Okay. And through the spiritual process, through the steps of the 12-step program, that can all be changed. You know, and I have to realize that, again, what I said earlier, I am selfish and self-centered to the core, drunk or sober. That's how I'm wired. That's who I am. And I think you would say, in general, people are wired naturally to think of themselves first. You know, thus we have to have the relationship with God, Jesus, you know, whoever our higher power is, and to give that up to him and to become others-centered for our relationship with him first in our life, and then to help others. Because that's where the victory comes.
Yeah, and that moves us directly to step 2. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves would restore us to sanity. By the way, most people at 1 are in trouble. Okay, most people have
when they come to realize, number 1.
Well, they have had a spouse threaten them. I'm not putting up with this anymore. They've been in jail for a DUI. Their employer has come and said, listen, you got to get this drinking thing figured out.
Unmanageable comes in there. Right.
Most of the time, that happens. I wasn't that way. And there are a lot of people that weren't that way otherwise. I just got sick and tired of being sick and tired. I just got sick and tired of waking up every morning going, why did I do that last night? And then not being able to sleep without it. So once you get past step 1, and then Mary, talk to us about step 2. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. What about that power greater than ourselves? Forget the argument of who it should be. What is it about surrendering that to that power greater than ourselves that makes it work?
Well, it's because I am giving up the power that I think I have. You know, I'm giving up making the decisions and the choices in my life. And I'm saying that I'm going to come to believe that I need a power outside of myself that can restore me, restore my mind, restore me to proportional, balanced thinking, you know, and to head in that direction.
Do you ever hear people saying, well, that same power allowed this thing to happen?
Oh, no.
No, because, you know, no, because the power that allowed that to happen was me, I, myself. Okay, it was just all about me. There was no other power. I was the power. Okay,
Right.
I didn't go to God and say, "Hey, we're going to go out drinking tonight. God, you want to help me out?"
So, but
Not
you don't
once.
see anybody shaking their fist at God saying, my wife's about ready to leave me, and you know, I lost my job, and
We say in meetings a lot, you know, if you're new, we're going to talk about God today, and that might scare you, but it's okay. You know, because some people do come there. They are angry at God. They want
Right.
nothing to do
Right.
with God. So once again, I say to you, the beauty of the 12-step program is that we love people. They come broken. We love them while they're broken and allow them whatever time they need to get where they need to get. And as we've said, the majority of the people have the same higher power that we all have in this room, okay? But you've just got to allow them and love them time to get where they need to get. These steps will break down that ego. These steps, properly worked, will remove the obstacles that keep us from a relationship.
yeah, in my vernacular, I would change that around. Allow them, I would change that to say, allow the Holy Spirit to work in their life and get them to wooing of the Holy Spirit.
Absolutely.
Where they understand that Jesus Christ is not the one that has caused this kind of problem.
Absolutely.
8 words for an alcoholic. It's not God's will for you to drink. Now, you're not an alcoholic. You want to go have a shot of scotch? Go have one. Have a glass of wine with your wife. But it's not God's will for me to drink.
And let me just say, a big thing in the program is that we start our day out with a daily prayer and meditation. And that is to ask God, who do you want me to be today? Where do you want me to go? And how do you want me to live? Please direct my
Right.
thinking, divorce it from dishonesty, self-pity, and
Selfishness.
self-seeking motives.
Right.
Okay? That, I mean, again, that's what we tell people. Okay, when you get up in the morning, you start your day, your time with God through prayer and meditation, and so that you ask God to direct you through the day. All right, that is absolutely where people get to. That is step 11. Okay, you got to go through all the other steps, which we'll be talking about, so you can remove the obstacles that you've had to wanting a relationship with God, Jesus, whoever, so you can get to the point that you want to have a deeper relationship with that. And as you say, the Holy Spirit intervenes.
Right.
All right, so we don't run out of time here. Step 3, made a decision. Well, did we say what we needed to do for step 2?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any questions?
No, I feel like I'm beating you both up way too bad anyway, so let's move ahead.
Made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God. Made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. Talk about that.
You know, that is saying that instead of going through the day, again, what I said earlier about what do I want? Me, myself, I'm going to sit in prayer and meditation. There's a third step prayer that we have, and that is offering myself up to God and asking Him to please direct me through the day that I may understand and better do His will throughout the day. And that is very early in the steps, right? Step 3, that I am every day starting my day on my knees. And it doesn't say you have to be on your knees, but that's what we talk about in 12-step, is on our knees. We ask God, turn our will and our lives over to God. And there is a prayer that's written in our book that we say to ask God to please help direct us. So we are no longer running the show.
Let me read the prayer for you. Third
Okay.
step prayer.
Mhm.
God, I offer myself to Thee to build with me and to do with me as Thou will. Relieve me of the bondage of self, that I may better do Thy will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those I would help with Thy power, Thy love, and Thy way of my life. May I do the will, Your will always.
And let me just say, the key to that prayer is, it's not to relieve you of the bondage of self, so, whoa, I'm really great and I'm a good person, everybody's going to love me. It said, so I can help others. That's the beginning of the turning, that the Holy Spirit, you know, the Spirit of the universe, whoever we're talking about, creative intelligence, Jesus, God, whoever, can turn me so I can become others-centered and I can start helping others. It's not about me anymore. That show's over.
Right.
The thing that was so powerful for me was to turn our will and our lives. What I really had to do is I had to turn my life over, because I lived an identity that was a public life. I was a radio guy for years. I was a God guy. I went to church, da-da-da. There were no scabs, I was a good guy. Inside, I'm a self-seeking, just a terrible individual. And my relationship with God was hindered because Satan, the accuser, whatever you want to do, every time I'd get a little closer to God, he'd throw alcohol on it, and he'd ruin the whole thing. So for me, it was about turning my life over to Him.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember one day saying, God, I'll be whatever you want me to be. I'll be a baggage handler at the airport. And why I ever thought of that, I don't know. I said, I'll be a baggage handler at the airport if you'll just relieve me of this alcoholism. Not just 2 weeks ago, a good friend of mine who's known me the whole time said, well, you know why you had that thought of being a baggage handler is because you're helping people unload, unpack their baggage. And I just think that was amazing that this guy pulled that.
Sure.
Because I don't have any love for baggage or airports.
Right.
But to turn our will and our lives over to the care of Him and understand, we growing up, surrender was a bad word. Cowboys and Indians, cops and robbers, you never surrendered. That was the guy who lost. Well, when you surrender to God, when you surrender to the Holy Spirit, when you surrender to your Creator, the person that created you to be something specific, and let me tell you something, alcohol only gets in the way of being what your Creator created you to be. And many times people will truly find their purpose in life when they remove the alcohol and they turn their will and their lives over to God.
You know, and people often are afraid, you know, what is He going to make me do? You know, just as Max said, but we get to that total surrender where we can trust that no matter what, my life's going to be so much better if I can trust.
Yeah, I'm playing scenes of faces that have been in our living room, or
sure.
And one guy, I mean, we get down to this point where you need to turn your life over to Christ and all that. And why would I ever do that? I mean, he's caused nothing but problems. He made or allowed my mother to abuse me, and right on down the line. And these first steps are not, they don't happen very easily in some people's lives. I mean, am I right in that?
Right. These are the first three. I mean, if you can't get past 3, you're going to go out and drink again.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, you can't really go on to 4 until you have gone on to 3. I mean, until you have accepted 3, because that's why. And it's again.
So is that where you spend most of your time talking to people, or it just kind of morphs?
No, it just is. You know, you in depth do 1, 2, and 3, and understand. You know, the body, the mind, and the will, and you get that, you know, to somebody who's new, and so they can get to the point. And once they are living where they are saying the third step prayer and they're turning their life over, then you can go on and do 4, 5, 6, and 7, because 4 and 5 aren't that easy. You know, you are really looking in depth at yourself and what you've done and that kind of thing. And it's tough. It's simple, but it's not easy.
But it what makes it, you're right, it's not simple, but it does become comfortable when you surrender your will.
Right.
And you're not fighting, because God didn't make you to be this way. The accuser makes you be this way. God didn't make you to be a drunk. God is not standing up in heaven saying you're a drunk. God is standing up in heaven and saying, I love you. I love you anyway, unconditionally. I happen to mark in my book, my 12-step book and everything looks kind of like a lot of guys' Bible, and my Bible looks the same way. I just happen to notice here that 12 days after I surrendered to God and put a plug in the jug, stop drinking, I wrote down, don't run away from alcohol, run towards God. And I remember writing that was really significant. I wasn't fleeing from something. I was running home to what I had been created to be, and that was not a person who consumed alcohol to the point where I was a drunkard. All right, so when we get done with these 3 steps, Mary, where are we? Where are we emotionally? Where are we spiritually?
Well, hopefully at this point we are getting some relief. We've stopped drinking for a time. Our life's starting to get a little bit better. In some cases not, because we had a lot of wreckage to clean up, from our drinking that it caused. But hopefully we're beginning to get a sense of ease and comfort a little bit. And, that our life is just going better, and we're beginning to trust, and to the point where we can move on to the next steps.
How long from I admit I'm powerless over alcohol and my life has become unmanageable to I turn my will and my life over to the care of God?
It depends on the individual. It depends on, usually you work with what's called a sponsor in the 12-step program, how quickly they get a sponsor, how quickly they begin working the steps. It could be, a few months, it could be 6 months, it could be 4 months. I mean, some people, go through all the steps in 6, 7, 8 months. It just is really an individual situation, I guess.
But 3rd is key.
Yeah, I think so.
If you don't get number 3,
can't really move on.
You can't really move on because you're in the way.
Right.
What do you say? You haven't surrendered to self?
I'm
in the way.
Right.
The next step,
obstacles between me and a relationship with my higher power.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And that higher power, everybody, at least I hear a lot of times, the reason people who are alcoholics don't seek relief at a church or through a spiritual program because they don't think God loves them. They think God is embarrassed by them and that God is mad at them. What you learn in the beginning of a 12-step program is the exact opposite, that God loves you no matter who you are, and he's going to come alongside you, and he and only he can heal you from this and remove this terrible disease from your life. And remember, it is a disease. There are some people out there who would like to argue with that. Medical science tells you different. It's a disease. It's a lot of times people like to refer to it as I'm allergic to alcohol. And when I put alcohol in my body and my mind do things that are not acceptable in the course of time. Mary, thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome to come back anytime. Next week, we're going to capture 4. 4 is a toughie. We'll talk about it. We're always here to help you at RestoringHopeLive.com. Reach out to us. Send us an email. Call us. Reach out on Facebook. Let us know how this program, this radio program, this webcast program is impacting your life. And more importantly, how can we impact your life? We're here to serve. My motto is I honor God, I follow Jesus, and I serve others. And that's the same with Dr. Hartwig, the same with Bob Montserrat, and even Maddie and Eric in the production booth. We all work to serve other people. So until next week, anything we can do for you, let us know. Reach out to Transformations if you're ready to make a change in your life. And until we see each other, do me just one favor, please. Just one. Just an itty-bitty favor. Just pray.